of Harvard and working on a very complex math problem. Oh, he must be very smart.
You need therapy from Robin Williams.
Yeah, but I'm gonna reject him at first and be mean to him about his passed away wife.
Those are your defenses from your rough childhood.
Right, but it's not my fault.
It's not your fault. Hey, it's not your fault.
Stop it.
Don't you know?
Stop it.
That it's not your fault.
Stop. Oh!
Do you get it now?
Yes, all my problems are fixed.
That's all that it takes.
Then you make a movie about it. That was actually their relationship in real life at the time.
No way.
Oh no.
You know, I didn't realize that it was about a guy named Will Hunting. I thought it was like, hey, you're gonna go hunting? Here's Goodwill. I didn't know. I just didn't know.
You just didn't know. It's not your fault.
There is no way for me to know. Don't you see that?
I see that. I also see that every time you exhale, the breath goes out the eyeball holes of that mask and fogs up your glasses.
Well,
I really hope they can see it, but unlikely.
That's how lions work.
Oh, they breathe out of their eye holes?
Yeah, did you not know that?
I didn't know that, but it's not my fault.
What do you think about the two of us doing a sick dance break?
I feel pretty good. 1, 2, 3, go!
You've got to do better than that, Mr. Levi. Are you okay?
I'm okay, but my marker's not.
You're ruining the dance break. 7:30 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
1, 2, 3, let's go.
Levi,
Yes, Greg.
it's totally dark.
What's dark?
The screen.
Which one?
That one. We seem to have no camera
Well,
feed.
but we have a thing. Ooh.
Hey!
Thanks, Sketchy Hat Man.
Is our camera on?
Our audio is on.
That's good.
Is our camera off?
Our camera's on.
It's all quiet
Can they hear us?
on the reversed front.
Oh, wow, this is just a comedy of errors tonight.
Yes, it is.
Audio input capture, video capture device.
Here, let me just see what I can do. Video, it's right there.
You can hear us. That's good. We can hear you too. Well, I mean, we can read you. I promise we're not just a large dark rectangle, as much as people think we are.
This is sick, dude.
Why is this happening?
Oh, wait. Click display capture.
It's the thing up there.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. No, colors. No. I mean, when you take off this, it just turns to a darker. So, like, something's coming in from the camera.
Okay, I'm gonna pull this out and try it again.
Okay. Let's see. So, quick question. I'm a senior. I took the SAT in October, and I'm so close to 1500. I'm wondering if I should take it SAT in November. Yeah. I mean, why not? Let's see. The schools you're applying to, I'm sure you probably have a list at this point, because applications are due soon. Do you know their policy on score choice? I'm EDing T20. What does EDing T20 mean? Because certain schools, if you take another test, like it doesn't matter if you have multiple test scores, they'll just consider your highest. Top 20 schools. Early decisioning to top 20 schools. Got it. Okay. Yeah, I would say go for it. Take it again. Why not?
This is unbelievable.
If you feel like you can improve from the last test you did, if there's a reason to believe that you're going to do better, and sometimes you just get better because more experience taking the test, high score cumulative. That is excellent. Why is this happening? Stop streaming, start recording. That's all good. Is the lens cap on?
Nah. Because we can see stuff.
Right. Do you want to just turn the camera off and on and off or whatever?
Yeah, I'll try that.
Sorry, everyone. This is not our finest moment. Yes, that's very true. Yeah, at this point, what's far more important is that you're putting time into your applications. Like, extremely more important. You're getting all your essays checked and double-checked. by people that know what they're doing and know what they're looking at.
The camera's on, but it doesn't see anything.
How is that possible? You turn it off and turn it back on again?
It's not turning off.
The SAT is next week. Yeah, I mean, if you have a lot of application stuff... Yeah, Sketchy Hatman, I agree. Sketchy Hatman, you subscribed, and I'm going to do a little jig for you as soon as our camera starts to work. Wouldn't it suck? Oh, hey, Usvo. Robot Dancer. Look at you. Levi. Do you know this is a gaming platform? We had heard. Yeah, that's weird. We thought it was a tutoring platform that some people just decided to start streaming video games off of. Robot Dancer, Levi does do essay reviews. You should DM us if you are interested in some of that. He's quite good. I've seen some before and I've seen some after, and the difference is thoroughly astounding.
Okay, the camera's now off.
Okay, camera's off, guys. It's about to go back on.
Maybe.
Here in the moment. Math is my favorite game. Yes, but if you lose in the game... Sorry, no, that's not it. If you die in the game, you die in real life.
Oh, there we go. Check the feed.
Is it going to work?
How's the...
It still is black. Robot, yes. Hey, I'm Taco. Hey, Taco. They put that online. I don't know exactly what score, but then again, it's not like if you have that score, you're going to get in. Something like 1/3 of the applicants that apply are qualified to get in. Is that what it is? No. Of the applicants that apply to Stanford, which are a lot, a certain number of students they qualify to get in. Like academically, they can handle it. Only 1/3 of those students actually get accepted. So you need a score that gets you in the door, and then it's everything else on your application that's going to carry you the rest of the way. Your essays, your transcripts, your recommendation letters. Why is this not working? Did we do anything different?
No.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, hey, I'm Taco, but you can just look that question exactly up on Google and it'll tell you the answer. Should we close out what's it called? What is this application called?
The camera is now working. Why don't you try just stopping stream and starting again?
All right, guys, hold on for just a second. We are going to stop our stream because it's obvious why. Stay tuned for just like 30 seconds. Whoa!
We're back, maybe.
We're back. Yeah, well, I'm just going to change it to that.
Sure.
Yeah. Start saying stuff.
Hi. This is what we looked like the whole time.
You just didn't see us. Did I?
Yeah.
I put it on the wrong thing? Hold on. Oh, this is display one. I swear, man, we're getting a little out of our game.
All right. Also refresh.
Don't switch. No switching.
Okay. Go back to the. We might need to refresh that. Just do Control R. Click on it and then press Control R. Did you click on it?
Click on the window?
Yeah. Yeah, and I just do Control R.
Okay. All right.
We have no... Hello, it works.
It works.
Great.
Yay!
Very
We're
good.
back. Do we look larger than normal?
Oh boy.
Yeah, you zoomed in a little bit. We're now bigger than ever. The camera's been zoomed. Look at this. Look at how wide my wings are. I'll zoom out. There we go. There we go. Good, I feel small again. This is how I like to feel. All right, guys. ACT coming up on October 26th, this coming Saturday. Number one, Levi and I are extremely stoked.
We're very stoked.
We love the ACT. The only thing that comes close to our love for the ACT is probably our love for the SAT. And
well, yes.
it's called Baba Is You. We probably missed what you said before, Usvo. So we don't know what the antecedent of your pronoun it refers to.
What?
It's called Baba Is You. What is called Baba Is You?
Antecedent?
Yeah. The word
I think it's antecedent.
precedent? Precedent?
I think it's
I think you're right. I think it is antecedent because now
Yeah.
that I hear it, it does sound like that. But I didn't say fully the wrong thing. No, it's a game. It's a game. Very good. Who's got questions? Let's not do anything on Reddit.
Okay.
We can't.
There's nothing good.
Well, no, it's just we should not.
All right.
Yes, they're all...
Is anyone else depressed?
A lot of people on the planet are depressed.
It's very important to do this. You're back. So are we, Noble Spartan. Welcome back. Oh, look at that.
Hey,
Thanks.
if you guys are feeling sad, you know what to do, right? Simply repress and dissociate. I'll say it again. Repress and dissociate. You're going to be fine.
Can we do that? Maybe.
Yeah,
Sure.
probably. Are we able to? Depends on how hard the puzzles are.
We would prefer to answer questions on the SAT and ACT, specifically the ones that are in the comments down below.
We do like those.
Yes, very much.
But hey, yeah, let's solve this puzzle. That sounds good. So we have to connect these 4 dots with 3 lines, and we cannot lift our pencil off the page. So I'll help you solve this puzzle. 3 lines. You cannot curve the lines. You cannot pick your pencil off the page. How are we going to do it? Well, that's a good question. Check this out. Okay, if I remember correctly, it was... No, was it a full figure? Was it 3 by 3? That's what it was. It's a 3 by 3.
What's the question?
In 3 lines, can you connect all of those dots? It's a Z. Well, Jerk Lump, I got it wrong. This is not going to be a Z. Yeah, the earlier one was far too easy because it wasn't the actual puzzle, but here's the real puzzle. This is the big one. Yeah, Jerk Lump, that would be incredibly easy, and I kind of insulted you. Let's see, 1. Jerk Lump, you're right. It is 4 lines. So this is the second time that you've beaten the puzzle. It's like a triangle with a line coming off of it. Yes, it does. Here we go. Line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4. It was 4 lines, so I botched pretty much every part of this puzzle. But, Usvo, there's the puzzle, and we just helped you solve it. And this is the puzzle game. The puzzle game is life. So hopefully that was as good for you guys as it was for us. Yeah, so you guys are watching, so clearly you want to improve your scores. What's holding you back? Or what's pushing you forward?
And who is holding you back? If someone is holding you back,
Who is
send
that
them
person?
to us.
Yeah, and we'll give them a beat down.
Yeah.
And they'll know not to hold you back anymore.
Yeah.
That's what the stream's about, is delivering beat downs.
Mm-hmm.
Reading is my struggle right now. Noble Spartan, we're so glad you asked.
Okay, so Noble Spartan, do you want to? We can pull up a reading section and go through a couple questions, or is it timing? You made brownies. Thank you for bringing brownies.
Tonight? Jay the Whiz Kid. Wait, who's the hat person? Sketchy Hat Man, are you still here? Sketchy Hat Man, I have something to do for you. Ooh, we got some HT questions in the Discord. All right, Noble Spartan, timing is not as big of an issue, so it's just actually getting the answers right. Accuracy? Is that the issue?
Can you erase that, by the way?
I mean, I could. I guess.
Okay. That's a nice size.
I like that one.
Okay.
Noble Spartan, we'll talk about that in just a sec.
So accuracy on reading, right? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
Or next we are?
Yeah.
So this question here, the equation, so this is just standard form of a parabola up there. So ax squared plus bx plus c is graphed in the standard coordinate plane for real values of a, b, and c. What that means is that a, b, and c are real values. They are not variables. They are not imaginary numbers. They're just normal, they're numbers. So you can leave it at that. Is this Algebra 2 material? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Okay, when y is 0, which of the following best describes the solutions for x? Okay.
Oh, I love this question.
When y is 0. So what does this mean? If y equals 0, this is a connection you have to have in the front of your mind when you're doing either of these tests.
Yeah.
Y equals 0
In the mind front.
needs to be the same thing in your head as the x-intercept. Or intercepts, plural. right? Because looking over there at that graph, the y, when y is 0, the parabola is crossing the x-axis. So they're asking when y is 0, so basically the x-intercepts, which of the following best describes the solutions for x? So I'm going to talk about frizz real quick. This is factors, roots, intercepts, and these are only x-intercepts, zeros, and solutions. Frizz. These all kind of mean the same thing. Now, factors are slightly different. A factor, let's say a root is 2. The intercept would be 2, the 0 would be 2, the solution would be 2, and the factor would be x minus 2. You guys have seen that when you're in factored form and the thing equals 0, then you get, you have x minus 2 times whatever other stuff. You know that x can be 2 for that equation, and then for that parabola, the intercept is 2 comma 0. So here, they're saying that y is 0, x-intercepts, 2 distinct real solutions. Yes, there are 2 distinct real solutions. One is negative, one is positive. G, 2 distinct negative real solutions. Oh, sorry, I misread F. 2 distinct positive real solutions. No, we have 2 distinct real solutions, but one is negative, one is positive. Right? They're on either side of the y-axis there. So F is no good. And for the same reason, but the opposite thing, G is no good because they're not both negative. One positive real solution and one negative real solution. I like H, as you said, Noble Spartan, good. 2 real solutions that are not distinct. Not true, they are distinct. And 2 distinct solutions that are not real. No, that is not what we have here. So we are left with H. H is the correct answer.
Yay!
Does anybody have any questions like this? Or on this, about this, upon this, under this? Anything?
You give them the business?
What does distinct solutions mean? You want to pull that up?
Absolutely, yes. Okay, so can we take this off the board? Yeah, Noble Spartan, it's right. Distinct means different. So if you have a parabola where the quadratic equation is x squared plus 6x plus 9, and you're solving it for the y-intercept, for the x-intercept. So you set it equal to 0, and you factor this thing. What you're going to get is x plus 3 times x plus 3. So you have 2 roots, but they're the same actual number. You have negative 3 and negative 3, which means you only have one distinct root, which is negative 3 and negative 3. They have to be different numbers to be referred to as distinct. And for all of you that are just like fascinated that you could have 2 of the same root, what that means is you're only going to cross the x-axis at negative 3. And cross is probably not even a good word to use. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. You're just going to kiss it. One of my students likes to say when you just touch something like an x-axis, or if you're a tangent to a circle, it just means you just kiss it. You're just kissing the x-axis. That's all. Not too long. You don't want to be inappropriate. Unless you know the x-axis very well. But let's face it, these days, who knows the x-axis that well anymore?
That's true.
X-axis has changed.
Yep.
When Levi and I were kids, the x-axis was a lot different.
Yep.
I'm not going to elaborate because what I'm saying is thoroughly absurd. All right. How many math questions do we have there? Oh, this is excellent.
We have 2.
We should talk about reading accuracy, right?
Yes, we'll do reading accuracy, and then we'll answer your other question, Jerklum.
Sounds good. Noble Spartan! You got trouble with reading, huh?
Timing is not an issue anymore so much, so that's good. The accuracy is bad.
Just accuracy.
Okay, so what types of questions are you having trouble doing? So there are the detail questions. That's, half of them, where it's just, what did they say here, right? So those are kind of their own thing. Is it those because you can't find them? Is it the main idea questions? Is it the purpose questions? Is it specific passage types? I have some students applying to Vanderbilt. They don't watch this stream, but I just revised a Vanderbilt essay.
Is that so?
Yes.
Because previous to stream, I asked you if you just happened to have revised the Vanderbilt essay, and you said no.
I didn't want to hurt you.
Well, you did, because now you're hurting me live. Types of wrong answers. What was it about, Levi?
It was the supplement
No, it's a question for me. They're saying, what was it about Levi? Like, why did I want to work with you?
Oh.
It's the way that he kind of rubs his head, like right now. That right now is what it is.
Yeah.
The ones that have suggest and purpose. Levi, keep saying stuff, and I'll talk about this. All right, so you have trouble with, like, what is the author suggesting with this, or...
So inference and purpose questions?
Inference and purpose questions, yes.
I got those here for you. Yes, so the Vanderbilt essay was the supplement one. I think it was what about your hometown is, you know, how has your hometown affected you and how you're going to bring that to Vanderbilt, something like that. I think that's what it... Oh, I'm sorry. I'm mixing up Vanderbilt and Villanova. My bad.
You always do that. And it's not cool because I had a sister and she died that way.
By mixing up those two schools?
Yeah.
She got on the plane and she split in half, right? As it went to the two different schools?
No.
No? It was something else.
Yeah.
Was it when she... That's actually the only way sisters can...
No. So real quick, with accuracy on the reading section, eliminating, just like in any other section, if you can eliminate, that is like 3/4 of the battle. Literally is 3/4 of the battle.
It's exactly 3/4.
It's exactly 3/4.
Yeah.
Okay. There are a couple of reasons why wrong answers are wrong on the reading section, and some of the answers are wrong for like multiple of these reasons. So the first thing is that they are irrelevant. They actually do not answer the question, or they just don't have to do with what the passage was about. It might be about a guy who decides to play guitar in his 20s. And then one of the answers says something about how he was really inspired by a math teacher. And, there was no reference to a math teacher, so that's just irrelevant. It was never actually spoken about. Most wrong answers, like a surprising majority of them, are wrong because they have some irrelevancy in them. They just don't answer the question, or they're not found in the passage. All right. Second reason, contradictory. They say something that goes against some detail in the passage. So as soon as you see something that's like, that's not exactly what the author is saying, in fact, that goes against it, you can eliminate that as well. It's contradictory. And then extreme. Levi put a sweet X through that X, that's a pretty extreme X. Extreme answers sound like they're going to be fine, but here's what they say. They say something like this. It was the best dancing Milo had ever seen. So maybe it's about some young boy who goes to see a dance recital or something like that. And maybe he really, really enjoyed it. Thought it was great. So it's like, it was the best dancing he'd ever seen. Yeah, that sounds right. He really liked it. But this is a huge thing to say. You cannot say it's the best dancing he'd ever seen unless you have evidence in the passage that backs that up. Okay? Extreme answers require extreme evidence. You might see words like, this marker has totally had it. Not that word, this word, never. You might see never. You might see always. For those words that mean like 0% of the time or 100% of the time, those are tricky. Make sure that you look closely at the evidence to see if it is a 100% of the time or 0% of the time situation. Because if you can't find that, then you cross that answer out. Okay, we probably should go over some of these examples. Levi, do you want to talk about purpose and inference questions?
Yes, I want to just pull up a passage.
Yeah, that's
I think
fine.
that'll be pretty awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Spartan, you're so noble.
Hey, Noble Spartan, we're ACT, correct? Is that what we're doing?
Yes, we have to be. Yes, and also the hat.
Wait,
hat.
Sorry, ACT. Yes.
ACT. Where's the hat person? The hat person. Are you still here? Because
sketchy hat.
Sketchy Hatman. Sketchy Hatman. I wanna do something because you subscribed, and we want to reward you for that with something that I think you'll really appreciate. So if you're here, let us know. If you're not, please also let us know.
Okay. So let's throw this guy up on the overlay.
Throw it up. Throw it up on the overlay. Hey, what?
Thanks, Dave.
Hey, you got it. I'll keep him busy. Hey, you guys. Big test coming up this Saturday. Are you ready for the after-test party? Party's at Levi's. Levi, you're gonna hang out with a bunch of high school kids?
You weren't supposed to know.
They weren't, or you weren't?
Nobody was supposed to know. It was just supposed to be me.
Oh.
Yeah.
And no one was invited?
Right.
Oh, sorry. In fact, don't go to Levi's.
Yeah.
I'm putting my scores directly here in the moment. I don't want to take tests Saturday. Hey, well, you know, here in the moment, there's this thing that Levi and I do. Well, there's repression and dissociation. But also, we're actors, or at least we were before the accident. So whenever we don't want to do something but we have to, it becomes an acting role. We act as though we're someone that does want to take that test.
Yeah.
And, you know, hopefully it's pretty convincing.
Yeah, I'm convinced. All right. So, Noble Spartan. This passage is in, this is ACT, it's down below. It's, I think, the first link, the most recent ACT 18 is 74F, I think it's called, down below, if you want to open it up. And this is the second passage. Oh, you know what? I don't want to do the second passage because it's got a split passage, which isn't necessarily good. Okay. So, one of the approaches, now I'm not avoiding your question, but purpose and inference questions are the hardest questions, especially the inference questions, because you have to know so much more. So if you get an inference question on the second question, don't do it. Do everything else. Do the hardest, do the easier stuff first, build up your understanding. Right? Do the vocab and context, do the detail questions. If you can't find a detail, just skip it, come back to it. Maybe you'll find the detail as you read other stuff. So let's try to find these two. The narrator. Okay, is number 3 the type of question that you are not great with? Because it says the narrator describes the natatorium as being nearly empty of spectators the day of his race in order to do something. Is it that type of thing that that gives you trouble? How do you feel about that stuff? Yeah, okay. So, with these purpose questions, it's very important to keep in mind that you are answering why. That's what we care about, not what. This is not a detail question. This is not a main idea question. It is a purpose question. Why did the narrator do this? So yeah, it definitely helps to find where the narrator actually does it, but then we have to find out why. So this narrator says that the natatorium is almost completely empty because of something. So these questions are harder because you need to understand the narrator's general idea, which comes after, you know, reading the passage for sure and then doing some of the questions. Is the text here big enough for you to see? Can you read what's on the board here? Let's see. Okay, this paragraph right here. Go, you can read. How do you skim passages for the ACT? We can do that in a hot sec. There are a couple different approaches to it. I'm sure there are even more, but there are, you know, a couple main ones that people do. So we'll get to that in a sec. I would say, well, okay, so let's say you've skimmed or read this passage, so you know where the narrator is talking about the natatorium being empty. It's not enough. You need to find out why they said it. So it's in this small paragraph right here, starting on line 22. By the time I stood up on the blocks, I was not only the only one in the race, I was practically the only one in the natatorium. The horn sounded and I dove in. I was angry and disheartened at having missed the cut the day before, and I had little belief that I could go any faster today. So, let's see. So, I'm not sure. Let's see. A, how do you skim A? Let me check. What does A say? Let's see if that's a good answer. Illustrate that the perfect racing conditions the narrator had hoped for weren't likely to occur. Okay, possibly. Now, we need to see why the narrator, where the narrator demonstrated that he wanted something that he didn't get. So that's a possible answer. B, demonstrate that contrary to the narrator's expectations, the meet was energetic. Well, that is, I should actually write these again. We have irrelevant, we have contradictory, and we have extreme. So I would say that B falls under contradictory because the meet was not energetic. How could the meet be energetic when nobody was there? So that's no good. C, explain why the narrator's coach paced at the sound of the horn.
Guess what?
What?
So today I had a hamburger, but I slaughtered the cow right before.
Yeah.
So you could say it was energetic meat.
Yeah?
No.
Wait, oh my gosh.
Wait. Yay, that's me. That's what I do.
Thank you, Brady. Okay, so answer choice C, we have explain why the narrator's coach paced. Well, let's go back up and just double check that, because right after they talk about the natatorium being almost empty, the coach is pacing around. That's that next paragraph. 600 yards in, my coach started to pace. I stayed steady, not in a hurry, but not about to get my hopes up. Okay. No. Now, the coach pacing, can you give us advice for handling sadness other than repress and dissociate? Yeah, because it's not working. Yes, we can. Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, yes we will. We're real people.
We are. Jeez. Sorry. So, I would say that, yes, they talk right here about the natatorium being almost empty, and then here about the coach pacing, but it is not causal, right? The coach just starts pacing 600 yards in or whatever it was. Not about it's not because it's empty that the coach could pace. So that's no good. And then we have D. Identify why the narrator felt a rush of energy before the race. I don't recall there being a rush of energy. By the time I stood up on the blocks, I was not only the horn sound, then I dove in. I was angry and disheartened at having missed the cut the day before, and I had little belief I could go any faster today. The narrator is angry and disheartened. Does not feel a rush of energy. Just before this smaller paragraph, we have... I can only imagine that it's A, as you said at the beginning. Now, notice how I went through the other ones. That will help you with accuracy more than anything else. You need to read all four. So I'm not sure what you did. I'm hoping that you looked at all four and you decided A is the best. But you need to try to figure out why the other ones are wrong. There's nothing wrong with A. Illustrate that the perfect racing conditions the narrator had hoped for weren't likely to occur. I'm not seeing that. Or sorry, that's the only one that I can see. Law, I didn't, but I should make that a habit. Eliminating the wrong ones. Yes, you should. So you are smart enough to get everything right on the reading section, given time, right? These readings, most of them are relatively straightforward. The questions are relatively straightforward, but you just don't have the time, right? That's it. You have to move quickly. If you had 6 hours to do this, aside from being unhappy that you have to do that, you could answer all these questions pretty accurately. But you can't. So the way to be accurate is to prove 3 answers wrong. It is easier to do that, and it is more accurate to do that. If you're trying to find the right answer, if that's your idea of your goal is to find a correct answer, it's not as accurate as trying to eliminate wrong answers because it's more simple, right? If we're just looking at A, I can't really pick out anything that's wrong with A. It sounds like nobody being there is not very good racing conditions, so I don't see any issue with that. B, as Brady talked about before, was contradictory, right? It was not energetic. D was also contradictory. Wow, I'm tired from today. And C, why the narrator's coach paced. It's not it's just incorrect. Like you can't make that connection. There is no evidence of that. Prove 3 wrong. We have found what the main issue is for you. I promise you that more than any other change you can make on the reading section, proving 3 wrong will improve your accuracy. Now, initially it will slow you down. It won't actually slow you down all that much because it's just being a little bit more meticulous about as you go through the answers. You're still reading the answers, right? And so, yes, on the ones where the correct answer is A, if you think it's A, you'll still have to go through B, C, and D. But let's say the answer is D. You're still going through A, B, and C. And instead of just saying, I don't know, try to figure out exactly what's wrong with it. And by doing that, you're more intentional about all your choices. So that's the main thing. Okay. Who was asking about skimming?
I want to do a math question.
Yeah, but someone's asking about skimming specifically. Jerklump asked about skimming on the reading section, so I just want to do that real quick. And then we'll do, I think it was Jerklump's question anyway on the Discord, so it's fine.
Okay.
Okay, skimming. There are a couple of ways to skim. I'll explain the way I personally like, and then Brady can explain the way that he personally likes. I'm a slow reader, so I have to skim. I'm never able to finish a whole passage and then read all the questions and do them and then do it for all 4 and finish in 35 minutes. No way, can't do it. So what I do is I read until I understand what's going on, okay? And then I jump. I miss information, but that's fine. My goal in the skimming is not even to like get half the information or based on what information is there. It is to create a map of what's going on, okay? So I'm going to use the information at my fingertips here. Literary passage. This passage is adopted from the essay Rough Water by whoever. Okay, that doesn't really matter. So, rough water. Maybe this has something to do with water. Who knows? But we'll find out pretty fast. And then as soon as I start reading and as soon as I figure something out, I'll jump several lines. That way, I'm getting a sense of where things are. So, starting to read. One of my best races could hardly be called a race at all. I was a senior in high school, gunning to qualify for USA Junior Nationals. A race, I'm guessing it's a swimming race. Now, we also did a question, and I've seen this passage before, but it's a race qualifying for Junior Nationals. The previous summer, I had missed the cut by less than a second in the mile, and just the day before at my high school regional meet, okay, so this person is, freestyle, 500-yard freestyle. Sure. So this looks like this person's a swimmer. Maybe you missed that. It's not the end of the world. You'll find out later. But they're racing here. I'm going to skip. Maybe not to the end of the not to the next paragraph, but somewhere around here. So I skip like 8 lines. I know what's going on. It's just an intro about this person who's trying to qualify for Junior Nationals. Down here, maybe line 17, 40 lengths of the pool. There we go. It's a pool. It was a race I'd swum fast enough to believe that given the right confluence of circumstances, yada, 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 I could make the cut and qualify. Great. So I want to qualify for Junior Nationals. I've just done that paragraph. I have no idea what happened in the middle, but actually, that's not true. I have an idea of what happened in the middle. It's an intro talking about trying to qualify. Next paragraph. By the time I stood up on the blocks, I was not the only one in the race. I was not only the only one in the race, I was practically the only one in the natatorium. The horn sounded, I dove in. Great. Move. About 600 yards in, my coach started to pace. Okay, so we're talking about the race here. I'm going to skip this whole paragraph now. I know we're in the race. Next paragraph. Sometimes a moment comes along when the world slows down and as though everything else moves. Okay, so this seems like, now you're using your experience of reading things in the past. It seems like we have the intro of, okay, we're going to be in this race. Then we start the race. Then this seems like some sort of aside. It's some sort of thought process going on during the race or just like the narrator's putting it in now. Sometimes a moment comes along when the world slows down. Sure, let's skip a couple lines, starting right at the end of line 40 with it, and then going up to the next one. We have, it is as though we slip into a wormhole in the fabric of time and space. Whatever. Let's just move on to the next paragraph there. The triangular backstroke flags were strung across the lanes in the adjacent diving well. My teammates like to run down the long cement deck, jump over the diving well. Okay, so this is still that other idea. It's not during the race that this is happening. It seems like that's some sort of past thing with his teammates because his teammates aren't there. And then the next paragraph, or maybe I'll read the last sentence of that second to last paragraph. We have, I pulled the whole thing into the water. Autumn was coming, and I wondered if there was a metaphor in what I had just done. A fortune fold. Okay, whatever. I don't get that. Now, line 65. Now it was March, and I was down to my last opportunity. Thinking about that day and hearing the word jump as my eyes followed the finger of the boy pointing me onward, what I understood not later, but right then, in the water, was how little this swim added up to in life. Okay, so I'm getting a sense of race, or this is why I'm racing, here's the beginning of the race, then we have some sort of other thought process, and then we're back to the race in that last big paragraph over there. And then let's read the last couple of lines. I hit the wall, I knew by instinct, by the spasm of my tendons and the ache in my bones before I returned that I had made it. Okay, cool. So he made it. Awesome. Now we go to the questions. Wow, I'm just having a rough day. Woo! And see where we go. Now, I don't know the details. I know the broad strokes, but I have a sense. So that means that when I'm doing these questions, I will have to read more in depth, but it will be for the first time. So I'm not going to be reading things twice. I'll be reading them for the first time, but I know where things are, so hopefully I can find them. First questions. The narrator of the passage can best be described as a swimmer who primarily... I wouldn't answer this. This is too big of a question. We're going for detail questions. Question 2. Which of the following events mentioned in the passage happened first chronologically? Okay, that's more detail-oriented. That's about the structure of the passage, so we would do that one. The narrator stood on the blocks at the Sunday time trial his senior year. The narrator leapt over the diving well in late September. That was that other part the narrator is talking about in the top right of the other page. H, the narrator swam 500-yard freestyle in the high school regional meet as a senior. That was definitely later. And the narrator heard a boy from a rival school cheering. Okay, so if you don't know where all those things are, you'll have to find them as you go. But we know that we know the order of what happened in with the race, so we'll have to go back. Now, if you can't figure out this question too, that's all right. You move on. We just talked about question 3, so let's ignore that. Well, let's say this is a purpose question. We would not do this right away because we don't know the purpose of things yet. We want the details. Okay, question 4. The narrator indicates that when he swam the 1,000-yard freestyle in time trials, the world for a moment seemed to... Okay, so this... We're going to find that and say the world for a moment seemed to what? We're going to find it, it's there, and we're going to use that 1,000-yard freestyle in the time trials. We're going to use that because that will help find it there. Does that make sense how we're going about this? So this skimming technique is about creating a map of what you're reading, knowing where things are, and then going back and finding the questions as you need them, starting with the easier stuff and then getting to the harder stuff later, so that you build up an understanding. So that's one approach. Brady, you want to talk about your other approach?
Sure. Okay.
Okay. Here is Brady. Doesn't finding it waste time? Yes, that it does. That's why you're trying to save time with skimming, so you know where things are. If you can't find something, you got to skip that question. So you have to figure out the medium. You don't want to skim and read 4 sentences in the whole passage. You're going to have to read and read 10, 15 sentences. Ideally, I would recommend reading this in about a minute and a half.
2 minutes.
Skimming it.
Skimming. Oh.
Yeah. Skimming, minute and a half. So you are reading in depth for what you're reading, but then you're skipping as soon as you know what's going on. Because then you'll know in depth what you read, and you'll know how they connect to each other, and you'll be able to say, okay, I think this part happened there, and then you're going to read that for the first time. Do the easy stuff first. And you do need to practice this. So don't do this for the first time on Saturday. That's not a good idea. You must practice these approaches. This is the approach that works for me, and I practice it a lot. If this approach doesn't work for you, don't find out on Saturday. Find out tonight or tomorrow, and practice it a bunch, see if you like it. If not, maybe do what Brady's about to suggest, or your own thing, some other person's suggestion. You have to figure out what works for you.
All right, you're on. Sounds good. Thank you. Skimming strategy number 2. It is not exactly like I want to take another prize tonight. That's good, Noble Spartan. It will not work for the very first passage. The very first passage is the narrative one, which is this one here, which is telling a story. what I'm about to show you is much better for the informational passages, which are like 2, 3, and 4. There's not a narrative to them. There's a logical flow, but it's more presenting information about something. So, for instance, with passage 2, here's how this would work. I'm not sure if those of you who are watching us right now have heard about the line number trick, but I will. If you have not learned about the line number trick, let me know and I'll explain it to you. In the meantime, I'll explain what this other skimming strategy is. Basically, the most important information in the reading section is found in 3 places. You find it in the introductory paragraph, which is a very important part of it. You find it in the topic sentences of the body paragraphs, and then you have it in the concluding paragraph. I think that's the concluding one. Yes, because then there's passage B right there. Okay, so what you're going to read are those places: intro, topic sentences, conclusion. By doing that, you'll have read maybe a half or so, depends on the passage, of what the passage is about. By reading the topic sentences, you'll know what each paragraph was about roughly. You'll know the main idea of the paragraph, so that when you have to look later on for details, which is the downside of the skimming strategy and skimming in general, is you'll have to look for details that you might not have read. You'll at least know what paragraph they probably are found in. I've always been more of a fan of nonfiction. The scope skimming technique. Levi, do you know what that is? Jerklump, say more about that. What is the scope skimming technique? I don't think I've ever heard of that. I assume it's an acronym based on the capitalization of the letters that you have there. What does it stand for? I'm very intrigued. Let me know. Okay, so skimming is, it's works for some students, doesn't work for other students. No matter what you do, you need to hustle through this test. You need to treat this like it's an athletic sport. I guess that's redundant because sports are athletic. I mean, okay, Levi, does chess count as a sport?
I don't know.
Is it? Would you call it athletic? It's intellectually athletic.
I personally associate athletic things with
Physical
things.
Right.
So I would say it is a competition.
True.
Of minds.
Competition of minds. Yeah. Anyway, so no matter what, you got to go through this thing quickly. And it's the 3rd section in a long day of testing, so it's difficult to keep your focus. At least it comes after a break. But you can't let go of your focus on this thing. Another thing to keep in mind, and this goes for all the sections, is do not think, as fun as it would be to get a perfect score, reality check here, you don't need a perfect score, and you're probably not going to get a perfect score. And that's not saying anything about you in particular. The test is meant so that almost no one gets a perfect score. So if you think you're going for a perfect score, that means you have to get pretty much every single question right. And so whenever you get to a question that's difficult, you're going to be like, well, I got to get this right if I'm going to get a perfect score. So I got to put time into this until I know which one's going to be right. And you're going to put a lot of time into it, and maybe you end up getting it wrong, in which case you just wasted a lot of time on nothing in particular. No points there. So what you need to keep in mind here is that it's not about getting everything right. It's about getting as many as possible correct in the time that you have, which is very short. So you're not going to have, you might not finish this thing. A lot of students don't finish the reading in science. It's sort of designed to go very quickly so that you have to work quickly if you're going to, do most of it. So skip questions when they're hard. That's the main point here. You get no extra bonus points for, I mean 4S. It actually means 4S. Jerklump. Oh, skimming, scanning, support, scope. Oh. Skimming, scanning, support, scope. Levi, don't you have a skimming, scanning, support scope on your airsoft rifle?
I do.
Yeah.
Yes. It's actually bagged me a couple rabbits.
Has it?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
You can get rabbits with airsoft?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
With the scanning
Support scope.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's a very rousing recommendation for that. Anyway, so, yes. Hopefully you'll have time at the end to come back to the hard ones. But certain questions will be easier and certain questions will be harder. And one thing that you need to do is figure out when to throw in the towel on a certain question, save yourself some time, and keep going. Hono! Hello! Levi, Hono's here.
Hello, Hono.
Hello, Hono. What's new? You never call us. We're not very happy with you because of that, but it's always good to see you. And I hope you're doing well. How's your family? You taking the ACT soon? Isn't Hono in Hawaii? Because I think of Honolulu, I think. Honomeru just looks like it's in Hawaii. Life has been difficult, but I'm taking the ACT this week. I enjoy that you use the word but, because that means there's contradiction. Life has been difficult, but I'm taking the ACT this week, which means life is about to get a lot easier. I do like what that implies. Levi, who asked about sadness?
That was Here in the Moment.
Here in the Moment. Should we talk that first, or should we go to math first?
Sadness.
Sadness. Here in the moment. Speaking of feeling your pain, sadness. Levi and I feel sad, and from time to time, not all the time, but repressing and dissociating is, if you couldn't tell by our tone, it's not healthy. It's not what you should do. Whatever is causing you sadness, you need to address in one form or another, and there are healthy ways of doing that, and there are unhealthy ways of doing that. Definitely depends on what, not just sadness, here I've been very angry. Oh, okay. Okay, got it. We also have angry. Yeah, that's why college. Here in the moment, I totally feel you. My senior year was very, very rough for me. Angsty teen. I also wanted to get the heck out of there. I felt like there was a ton of pressure on me, and it got pretty rough, and I was like overworked, and I was burnt out, and I was angry at myself for getting myself into a position where I had so much to do and so much work. So getting out was very, very appealing, and it was. You're going to get there. It's going to be soon, and then you're going to be sad that things go so quickly in life, but you have, how many months do you have left? 7 months or so before the end of the school year. I mean, it all depends on what's making you sad and angry. Do you have time to not have to do things? What I mean by that is, like, I need nothing time. If I just have all of my hours scheduled and I'm going from thing to thing, I start getting really just antsy and grumpy, and I feel like there's no time to just kind of lie around and do nothing, which is like recharge time, which for me is super important. So I don't know if you have that time to yourself, that, you know, whatever it is that you do that makes your mind just calm down, that's really important. If you can do more of whatever, like, reliably gives you joy, that's also really important. Levi and I both have things that give us joy. Levi, what gives you joy?
Only you.
Only me, apparently. So Levi, in hanging around me, which makes a lot of sense now, because we tutor together, not in the same room, but we tutor in under the same house, both physically and businessly. We stream together, as you can see, and we also teach together for a nonprofit in New York. So Levi gets his joy out of that. And for me, I go dancing, and it's awesome. I love it. It's great. Partner dancing. It's really corny, but it's fun. But that reliably makes me happy. And it's important to know what those things are. And if you don't know what those are, you got to find them. They're out there somewhere. And sometimes they're in here. You have to cut open your chest and take your heart out. And then you'll see that it'll make you happy. And then you'll be happy for approximately 5 seconds or so before the darkness consumes you, because you just removed your heart. Not a good call. And those are diet solutions. I would say if you are feeling overwhelmingly sad and angry, find someone to talk to, someone like a professional to talk to. I and a lot of people I know have gone before to talk to professionals, and it's nothing but incredibly helpful. So that is also always an option, always on the table. But whatever you do, take care of yourself. We're going to do math now. All right. Wait, we already did a jerk lump question. So we're going to do noble. Oh, they did a... That's why it seemed tricky. Oh, okay. So jerk lump. It looks like Noble answered your question right here. Is that Do you still need to talk about it, or you go with this one? Not that one. No, not that one. Okay. 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 Number 20 needs help. Well, we got to help number 20. Big time. All right, so let's see what we have here. For trapezoid ABCD, shown below, AB is parallel to DC, which is why it's a trapezoid in the first place, because you have two bases that are parallel to each other, which makes it a trapezoid. And the measures of the interior angles are distinct, which means they're different from each other. And the measure of D is x degrees. What is the degree measure of A in terms of x? Okay. I paid debt with more debt. Broke gang. You pay debt with more debt. That people actually, you have to do that. You borrow from other people to pay other people back, and you get yourself into a cycle. And you ride that cycle all the way to the top. And where's the top? Some mob boss giving you money and saying, but someday I'm going to ask for a favor. And then someday he's going to come by, he's going to be looking for a cup of sugar. And if you don't have that cup of sugar, then he's going to probably walk to a different neighbor's house for a cup of sugar. Does anybody actually ask for a cup of sugar anymore?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, my local mob boss does.
Oh, got it. Okay. All right. So let's actually talk about things. Jerk lump. A trapezoid has two parallel sides, opposite from each other. We call those the bases. And they tell you in this one which ones those are. They're the ones that look like they're parallel. So I'm going to draw it. I will draw it for you. And I'll draw it for you right now, right here. Here we go. All right. So we have that. Not as much. No, it goes outward a little bit. Sorry, a little outward. Bam. These two are parallel. And this is x degrees. And it wants to know what that is right there. Okay? Parallel lines. If we continue these lines, what you have to notice here is that this side length here is what's called a transversal. It is a line that goes through a set of parallel lines. And they have very interesting properties. Very interesting indeed. First thing you need to know, and this is not parallel line geometry at all, this is just angle geometry. This side right here is opposite x. It's called vertical angle. X and this side are vertical angles. They're going to be the same measure. So we might not need it, but I always like to fill in as many angles as I can, because then I might see relationships that I didn't know were there before, and it'll help me find my way to my answer. Okay? So next thing, these angles here. We don't know what they are, but we know that they, along with x, need to make 180 because they make a linear pair, which is a straight line. So what we can write this as is 180 minus x. Okay? 180 minus x. Because they have to add up to 180. So if x is 70, then this other angle is going to be 110 because they have to add up to 180. Okay? By vertical angles, this one here is also going to be 180 minus x. Degrees, by the way. Okay? Degrees. All right, now parallel lines come into play. This line here, transversal, cuts through two parallel lines. My lines are not great, sorry about that. It will cut through both of those parallel lines, making identical angles at both intersections, okay? These four here are going to be identical to what they are up here, okay? X looks like it's acute. 180 minus x is the obtuse one. So x is the bottom left and top right. It's going to be the same right here, which means that 180 minus x will be these two right here. And that is going to give you what a is, 180 minus x, okay? Just some more general stuff. Here's another set of parallel lines. Here in the moment, I'm glad. I'm very glad. You needed it. I needed it. It's been a tough day. We're going to call this angle Z, okay? This angle right here is going to be congruent to Z. It's going to be the same size, okay? And I can show you, you know, like, okay, parallel lines. I told you they were parallel, so we got parallel. This would also be Z, and then if you write these two in the corresponding places down here, these are both Z. But I just want to take a moment to look at these two right here. These are called alternate interior angles. Alternate interior angles, because they are opposite sides of the transversal. That's why we call them alternate. All right, interior, they're on the inside of the parallel lines, and then angles, though they're angles, they are going to be the same. So alternate interior angles are going to be congruent to each other. And then the other thing, same side interior angles. Those are going to be supplementary to each other. Okay? The proof is, it's in the pudding, but if this is Z, like we said before, these are congruent. Z and X make a linear pair together. They make a straight line. So they have to be supplementary to each other. They have to add up to 180. So if that's the case, this and this, since this Z is congruent to this Z, X and Z need to be supplementary as well. Okay? Same side interior angles are supplementary. That's what we have here. A and X are on the same side of the interior of two parallel lines. So they have to be supplementary. That's what that rule is. I also need... Oh, here in the moment. You're welcome. Hopefully some of that helps. I also need help to remember the area formula for a trapezoid. Yes, very good. Area formula for a trapezoid. Just call them pezoids. That's what they should call them. 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times height. 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times height. As far as ways to remember it, good question. I mean, I could sort of show you, I'm not sure it would help. Like, you see it written like this. Sometimes you see it written like this. B1 plus B2 over 2 times height. Sometimes you put everything on top, and then 2 is on the bottom for all of them. Sometimes you multiply it by h over 2. All of these are algebraically equivalent times h over 2. As far as the ways to remember it, I mean, what kind of calculator you're using, because you could just put a program on your calculator that has the formula on it. So if you ever forget it, you can just open up that program and look at it. You gotta have the right calculator though. If you have an 84 or an 83, there's a program on our Discord that you can get that has all of those. 4-function calculator. Got it. All right, never mind. Never mind. We could have it tattooed on the inside of your eyelids, or just directly on the surface of your pupil, so that you always see it. It's an idea. For area of a triangle, I almost always split up into two triangles and a rectangle.
Why?
Oh, for a trapezoid.
For a trapezoid.
For a trapezoid. Yeah. You probably want to stay there for a sec. Yeah, that's a good idea. Oops. Here in the moment. Oops. Oh, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. The reason, at least in my mind, why that formula works is this is going to have the same area as a rectangle that has an average of these two bases. So these two bases, like, let's say that that's 8, and let's say that that's 6. This marker is kaput. Dunzo. All right? Then average base would be 7 in this case, which would be this distance right here. So let's imagine that was the length of the base, and then the height was still the same. So the height goes up here, and it goes down here. Same thing over here and here. So this new rectangle is going to, oh god, sorry, this is terrible. It's going to have the same area as that trapezoid. As you can see, we're leaving out these two triangles, but they're more than made up for. They're made up for exactly by these two triangles here. So it's like you're taking the average of the bases. You're adding them up and you're dividing them by 2, and then using that as a new base and multiplying that by the height to make a rectangle that would be equivalent to the trapezoid. But it's, it's like other formulas. Use it a couple times. Try some practice. And, at some point, it'll be in your head for a day. And then you'll be able to regurgitate it on the test. And then you can promptly forget it and fill your brain up with other things that are more important. Like
the other way to understand why this equation is what it is.
Yeah, like that.
You have a trapezoid.
This
doesn't really matter what type, but you know that these two...
You're going to put one next to itself?
No. If you break it up into two triangles like that,
I doubt it.
Both triangles have the same height, and then you basically have this triangle up here that has this base 1, and then the height is h. So the way you find the area of that triangle is base 1 times height divided by 2. So you have B1H over 2. And then this guy down here, you have B2. You still have the H. It's also divided by 2. So you have, I guess make that a 2. So you have B1H over 2 plus B2H over 2. And that is that. Anyway, not super important that you understand exactly why, as long as you memorize that, especially this close to the test. Sorry, here in the moment, I always forget. Are you taking the ACT or the SAT? ACT. All right. What are the stuff you got for us here in the moment, or anybody else? Could be SAT. That's okay too, as long as you ask us questions. Okay. That's a valid question if you are Crunk from The Emperor's New Groove. What do you do with words you don't know? Okay. Is that like specifically for vocab and context questions, or is it just when you're reading any passage and you just don't know some of the words? Reading passages overall. The context will help. So yes, if you don't know words, it's difficult. If you could pull up a passage, it's all about context. So you don't need to know every word. Sometimes, not knowing a word will totally ruin your understanding. But for the most part, you can use what is before and after to help you identify what's going on without total understanding of that word. And that's also how you learn new words anyway, right? If you don't know the word, Brady, give me a word.
How about panoply?
Panoply. Implicit. Sure, we'll go with implicit instead of panoply, which is not going to be on the test. Like implicit differentiation. So if the sentences are, he didn't tell me exactly what to do, but I knew what he meant because he made it implicit in how he was acting. Well, he didn't tell me exactly what to do, but I knew what he meant. It was implicit. So it basically defines the word for you. Now, that is how the vocab and context works sometimes. It's not going to be that cut and dry every time. But that's how you learn new words in general, is seeing them in context. You understand the context, and now you associate that word with that context. That's how we learn, for the most part, with new words. You know thousands and thousands of words in the English language, and you did not learn them by definition every time, for the most part. So if you can find a passage and pull something up and say, how do I figure out what this word means or understand this paragraph without knowing these words, that would be great. But it's I want to know what words you don't know, so if you can find one somewhere and then pull that up, that'd be cool. It would be very cool. Okay, do we have other questions? I don't know if you're getting on that here in the moment, Jerklump asked that question first. Yes, so look for that type of thing if you want us to answer that more in depth or do an example. Otherwise, other questions? Ariel, you want me to just define words for you? All right, well, like there's the, what is it, mermaid? Ariel, right? Okay, do you know what passage was it in one of the tests that's down there, or no? If not, then I can talk about how it's dealing with that. My guess is 72C. Okay, I think we can do 72C, right, Brady?
I hope so.
Can you look on the Twitch page?
Yeah, sure.
Passage 4, 72C. All right, let me pull that up. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, give me a sec to get down there. Okay, passage 4, I'm there. Can you tell me whereabouts it is?
72C is good.
Yeah. Two words that sound the same and are spelled differently are, oh boy, there's homonyms and homophones. I forget the difference.
I'm going to look it up right now.
I think homophones are pronounced the same and spelled differently, and homonyms are the other way.
Here we go. Homonyms are words that sound alike but have different meanings.
Oh.
So like, I guess the word red, like the color, and then I read a book.
Yeah.
I guess that would also... Okay, homophones are a type of homonym that also sound alike and have different meanings but have different spellings.
Oh, got it. Okay, so line 52. Let's find the mouse. Scroll up a little bit. Okay, we have let's just read the sentence first. So the whole thing. I'm going to read the two sentences there at the end of that paragraph. They also observed that mandibles started to decelerate before they meet, possibly to avoid self-inflicted damage. Most important, the ants had two distinct modes of aerial locomotion. In the so-called escape jump, they did this, and then the second kind of jaw-propelled locomotion is even more common than if an intruder enters the nest. One of them banging the jaws against the intruder. So, aerial locomotion. There's actually not a ton of help around this word that makes it very clear at least what aerial locomotion is. Locomotion, hopefully you know. Levi, do not close your eyes. Wait, sorry, I missed that. Why should I not close my eyes? Yes, locomotion is movement. And then aerial locomotion, just don't. Okay, I won't. Can I blink? So yeah, it's not exactly clear what aerial means from the context around here. It's some sort of movement though, right? It's an adjective describing locomotion, so it's whatever type of movement they are. Thank you. What? So there isn't a great way to definitely define the word aerial here. Now, if this were a vocab and context question, there would be a clearer understanding of, or a clearer context around that telling you what aerial means. It's not necessary for the understanding of this passage, unfortunately. Aerial means air, stuff. So aerial locomotion, before I knew it was in this passage, I was thinking something flying. It's through the air. That's what it means, through the air. Can you go over math questions of Discord, on Discord? Robot, yes we can. Yes we can. So, if you absolutely have to know the meaning of a word, it will be clear, for the vocab and context specifically, it will be clear from the context, hopefully, what that word means. Something like the word aerial here doesn't hinder your understanding of the passage as a whole. Yes, let's go to some Discord stuff. That sounds cool.
Can I do it?
Oh, so robot may or may not. Is it so what test is this from, robot? Yeah, simple mistakes are painful for sure. Did you finish with a lot of time left? Anyway, if this is so, we can't put up questions from specific. We can't put up questions that are not from officially released tests. Though I sort of feel like this is from SAT Test 10. I think. Let me just try pulling that up real quick because I think I'm right here. Give me a sec. Oh, hey Brady, you have a student now?
No.
Could you finish this question possibly?
Yeah.
Maybe it's not. No, it's not. Dang it. Okay. Yeah, Brady, if you could do this question and come up with your own similar thing.
Similar thing, like we can't use this one exactly?
Yeah, make it up. It's not too tough.
Okay.
Make something up. All right, have a good night, everybody. I have a child now.
Levi's got a child. He has to attend to said child. It's a thing we do in the industry. Attend to said children. Not sad children. Said children. All right, so let me see what we got here. What value of x satisfies the equation above? We're looking for something like that. All right. All right, what am I going to do here? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah. We're just going to have to solve for x. I'm not going to give you... Why do you tutor at 9 at night? Well, because some kids are busy after school for a while, and the only time they can do it is from 9 to 10. And I have some students in different time zones, so it also is actually not 9 o'clock everywhere, which is also a fun thing. So here's what we're going to have. 6x squared over x squared minus 25. This is a nice marker. Minus, we're going to say 3x over x plus 5 is equal to 1 over x minus 5. We have to solve that. That is the question. It's not exactly what we have in the Discord, but it is similar, and so that's what we're going to have to go with. These are rational expressions. They've got x's on the top and bottom, and we've got fractions here. And fractions are, as someone I remember saying, a former teacher in my past life saying, fractions are a distraction. You get distracted by them. Then you start hanging out with the wrong people. You drift away from who you were and who your real friends are. So what we have to do is get rid of the fractions somehow. And in order to do that, we need to put them together. We need to add these things. In this case, we have to subtract, or we can add this to the other side, and that might help a little bit. The idea here, though, is we need to have the same denominator. That's what we're missing here. Okay, the same denominator, and these are x expressions in the denominator. They're not just numbers. So it's a little trickier, okay? So what you want to do is create a common denominator, and the way you're going to do that is you're just going to see what expression you could create that all of these would go into, okay? Something that you should notice here, x squared minus 25 should catch your eye. That is a difference of squares. You can factor that. When you factor it, the way forward becomes a little clearer. So x squared minus 25 is the same as, so I'm going to write here. That used to be there. That is the same as x plus 5, x minus 5. All right? That's one of those factoring patterns that you have to see. You have to recognize that when you see it, okay? So this is the largest denominator we have, and these are smaller. If we want to make a common denominator for all of them, we could turn all of them into this denominator. It already has both components. It already has an x plus 5 and an x minus 5. This fraction here only has an x plus 5. So if we multiply the top and bottom of this fraction by x minus 5, then we're going to get a fraction that's over that. So that's what we're going to want to do. We're going to want to multiply, let me give our equal sign a little more. We're going to want to multiply the top and bottom of this fraction by x minus 5. And similarly, we want to multiply this fraction over here by x plus 5 over x plus 5. Because that would give us the same denominator, okay? There's a lot of multiplication we have to do, okay? So the first fraction is going to stay the same. 6x squared over 6 plus 5, x minus 5. This next one, we have to multiply what was already here, which is 3x times this stuff. All right? So 3x times that is going to give us 3x squared minus 15x. And that is, again, over our new and improved common denominator. Everyone's talking about it. It's the talk of the town. All right? This one only had a 1, so the multiplication is going to be very easy. We have x plus 5 over x minus 5, x plus 5. Okay. So now we can actually do some subtraction. Okay? When you subtract a fraction like this, keep in mind, you're subtracting this entire fraction. What I mean by that is this top here. Think of these in parentheses. You're subtracting this numerator, which means you have to apply the subtraction to both of these terms, which means this is going to become plus 15x because we're subtracting a negative 15x. So I'm going to write this all on the same fraction now. So we have 6x squared. We have minus 3x squared. But then we have plus 15x. Okay? That is over x plus 5, x minus 5. And that is set equal to what we have over here. X plus 5 over x plus 5, x minus 5. Okay? Now, next step. They are both over the same denominator, which is nice. Because think about if you have something like this. X over 6 is equal to 7 over 6. It's clear from this that x must be 7. And even if we weren't sure about that, if you want to solve this for x, you have to multiply by the denominator, 6. Multiply both sides by the denominator, the 6's cancel out, leaving you with just x equals 7. Okay? So we can multiply both sides by the denominator, and the denominator is just going to disappear, which is great. However, what you must remember from looking at this is there are a couple of values that x cannot be, because you cannot divide by 0. All right? Any x value that makes you divide by 0, it's out of there. That's not good. The domain does not have that x value included because it makes you divide by 0, which is bad. So taking a look at our original expressions here, if x is negative 5, we have a problem. And if x is positive 5, we have a problem. Okay? So basically, we just have to keep in mind x can't equal negative 5 or positive 5. Just can't be that. All right? With that in mind, we are going to multiply both sides by the denominator, so it's just going to go away, leaving us with this. 6x squared minus 3x squared plus 15x is equal to x plus 5. Okay? Combine like terms. We have a quadratic here. Actually, I never combined these terms. I should have done that in this step. So what this should be is just 3x squared at this point. 6x squared minus 3x squared is 3x squared. We have 3x squared plus 15x is equal to x plus 5. We have a quadratic, and solving a quadratic, the first step is always the same. Get everything on the same side and get 0 on the other. It's called putting it in standard form. So I have to subtract the x, and I have to subtract the 5 as well. So when I do that, I'm going to get 3x squared plus 14x minus 5 is equal to 0. I'm going to write that over here. 3x squared plus 14x minus 5 is equal to 0. I made up these numbers, so I highly doubt this is factorable. Let me think about this for a sec. Multiply. Is this going to be actually factorable? Multiply to negative 15 and add to 14. Actually, it will. Actually, it will. Okay? This is great. Here is a quadratic with a leading coefficient that's not 1. So I don't know if you got a couple different ways to go from here. If you have quad on your calculator, just plug in 3, 14, negative 5. It'll solve the quadratic formula for you. You could do the quadratic formula. That will always solve the quadratic. You could also see if it's factorable. In this case, this is factorable. The reason I know is because when you have a leading coefficient that's not 1, in this case it's 3, you have to find two numbers that multiply to something and add to something. This was no calc. This was no calc. Yeah, now, I also, you can factor this, but also I made these up. So the one that's on there, we can't use that because that's copyrighted information. So I don't know how smoothly it would turn out, but the steps that I took here are the exact same steps you want to do with that. You want to make all the expressions or all the terms over the same denominator, and then add, subtract, and simplify and see what you get. Yes. Okay, good. Good. Real quick, multiply to negative 15 add to 14. The two numbers that do that would be 15 and -1. So I would say 3x squared plus 15x minus 5 is equal to 0. So we are doing factor by grouping. I take out 3x, x plus 5, take out a -1, we have x plus 5 equals 0. So our eventual factors are 3x minus 1, x plus 5 is equal to 0, which means our answers are going to be x is equal to 1/3. That's the 0 of this factor, and the 0 of this one is going to be -5. All right. You think those are both going to be your answers? Well, look at this. X equals -5 cannot be one of your answers because x is not allowed to equal -5. So that means this answer is not okay, which leaves us only with one answer, which is x is equal to 1/3. I'm assuming, Robot, that something similar is going to happen. So keep track of what your x cannot be from your denominator in the question that you sent. Because if you get that as one of your answers, which I'm looking right now, and it looks like, yes, it looks like two of the answers they give you, you are not allowed to use. Because if you plug them in, you're going to get zeros on the bottom of some fractions. And that's undefined, and things explode. And that's not good. Unless there are any other questions, I'm sorry we started late, but we're ending late, so that's we've kind of made up for that. Of course, here in the moment, of course, we're always here for you in the moment, except for when we're not. Yeah, in that case, we will see you guys tomorrow. We are streaming. You have two more. Robot Dancer. All right, let me take a look. Okay. Robot Dancer. Let me take a look at this. Oop. Total distance d in meters. Model by Got it. Okay. Okay. No, Robot. Totally fine. I enjoy this. That's why I do it. Yes, go ahead here in the moment. Sleep the sweet, sweet sleep of sweetness. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Little here in the moment. That's what they sing in Australia. All right, so again, Robot, I'm going to make up a similar problem to this. Okay, so let me wait till this thing. The distance an object travels is going to be modeled with d. And the time that it takes it to travel that is going to be modeled with t. And let's just say that d is meters and t is seconds. So the question says that it's modeled by a quadratic, and it gives us some times and some distances. So I'm going to make some up. I'm going to make some up here. There we go. There we go. There we go. That's it. Okay, at a time of that, the total distance traveled by the object is that meters. Okay, so let's say at time of 2, the distance is 12 meters. It's the first thing. Time of 2, distance is 12 meters. At a time of 8, the distance is, we're going to say, let's say it is 124 meters. Okay. And then it says the object was at a distance of 0 when time was 0. So when time starts, our distance starts at 0. And the eventual question is, what is the total distance traveled by the object after a certain amount of time? So we're going to say, what is d when time is, we're going to say 14. Okay. Different numbers, similar situation. It says that the motion can be described by a quadratic equation, so not linear. We're not just moving at a constant speed, their speed is changing. So remind yourself that a quadratic in standard form looks like this. Y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, where y and x are your variables and a, b, and c are your constants. In this situation, distance is our output, okay? So that's d. Our input is t, time. So we're going to have time squared plus, hold on, I'm using orange for constants, plus b, t, plus c, okay? So just, I'm re-outfitting this with our variables, okay? So there's a quadratic that represents the situation. What we have to do, we have to figure out the unknowns here, a, b, and c. Once you have your a, b, and c, your quadratic is locked in. There's only one parabola it can make. It is a fully functioning parabola and a fully functioning quadratic. You can put an x value and you're going to get a y value out. Okay, that's what we have to find. We have 3 different points that they tell us. By using those 3 points, we can figure out what a, b, and c are. The very first one they tell us is going to be the most helpful. Or I guess it's the cleanest one to work with. When time is 0, distance is 0. I don't know why I wrote out 0. Okay, that means that, these are all points. So when time is 0, distance is 0. At a time of 8, the distance is 124. And at a time of 2, the distance is 12. Okay? These are all just coordinates on this function. Okay, the fact that they mean distance and time is not crucial as long as you know that one's the input variable time, one's the output variable distance. And they want to know what your output is when your input is 14, basically. That's sort of the math, the core of math of what's going on. But it is using math to model a real-world situation. Anyway, let's plug in 0, 0, and see what happens. So 0 is going to be our d value. So we have 0 is equal to a. 0 is also our t value. Squared plus b, 0 plus c. Okay? 0 is equal to, now these two things are just 0. A times 0 squared, which is just 0, that's going to be gone. B times 0 is also going to be gone. So what we're left with is 0 is equal to c, which makes sense. C is like your starting value. It is your y-intercept, actually. Just like in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, b is your y-intercept. C is your y-intercept for quadratics. It is the value that's left over when your x is 0. Okay? Your y-intercept is where you cross the y-axis. Oh, another way of saying that is where your x is 0. When x is 0, all the x terms don't mean anything. Y is equal to b. When x is 0, all your t terms don't mean anything. So d is equal to c, which in this case is 0. So that means that we solved a part of this. Our c value is going to be 0, which means this c, we don't even need to write it because it is supposed to be plus 0. All right. So that means we're just left with a and b. So let's see what happens when we put some other points in. We're going to put 2, 12 in. So our distance is 12. And that's going to be set equal to a. Our t value is 2. 2 squared plus b times, again, 2. So we have 12 is equal to 4a plus 2b. It's got 2 variables, so I can't solve it, but I can simplify it. I can divide everything by 2. So 6 is equal to 2a plus b. Nowhere to go from there. Now we kind of stop right there. But now comes time for the other one we have, which is 8, 124. So I'm going to write that over here. We have 124 is equal to, we have a times 8 squared plus b times 8. Same situation. See what happens. Simplify. We have 64a plus 8b. Everything is divisible by 2. This is going to be 50 plus 12. 62 is equal to 32a plus 4b. Look at that. They're all still divisible by 2. I love it. 31 is equal to 16a plus 2b. Okay? You have a system of equations. Once I'm done with this one, I got to go. We can solve your other one tomorrow. You have a system of equations. Both have a and b in them. And there's two of these equations. That means you can solve with either substitution or elimination. Let's see what we have here. Which would be the easier one? I'm going to double this equation here so that the b's are going to cancel out. This is going to become, so basically I'm going to go back to what we started with. 12 is equal to 4a plus 2b. Okay? I'm going to rewrite this equation over here. 31 is equal to 16a plus 2b. The two b's, if I subtract everything, are going to cancel each other out. They're going to eliminate. So I'm going to be able to solve this thing for A. 12 minus 31 is going to be negative, and it's going to be 31, 21, 19. Negative 19, I believe, yes. 4 minus 16 is negative 12A. This is not going to be friendly at all. Great. Divide by negative 12. Divide by negative 12. You get A is equal to 19 over 12. So now you can put that in for B. This is not going to be fun. 31 is equal to 16 times 19 over 12. Plus 2B. These are both divisible by 4. Okay, all right, we're going to finish this one. Okay, so 16 over 12, you can divide by both by 4, so you get 4 over 3. So you have 4 over 3. So you have 31 is equal to 40, so 40, basically 20 times 4, which is 80, minus 4, which is 76 over 3 plus 2b. 76 over 3. Let's make this over 3 as well. This is going to be 93 over 3. 93 over 3. Subtract the 76. Subtracting the 76. This is excellent. This is for you, Robot Dancer. Power to you. 86, 96, but minus 3, so 17. 17. 86 plus 4 plus 17. 17 over 3 is equal to 2b. Divide by 2. 17 over 6 is equal to b. So, now that we have a and b, we have our full equation. We have d is equal to 19 over 12 t squared plus 17 over 6 t. Once you have your equation, you can put in the final value that they want. What is d when t is 14? You would put 14 in for t and see what d equals. You get the output, okay? So basically, you have to construct a quadratic here. You have to construct it with the information that they gave you. They gave you 3 points. 3 points is enough to construct a quadratic. Just like saying 2 points make a line. You were dealing with linear stuff. You have 2 points, you got a line. It's easy. You cannot get a quadratic from 2 points because it's not enough information, okay? So like, you know, if these are your 2 points, the parabola could look like this. Very true. It could also look like this. There's a lot of other ways it could look. As soon as you have a third point locked in, like maybe this one here, there's no other parabola you could have besides the first one that I drew. So having 3 points is enough to triangulate what your A, your B, and your C values are going to be. And then once you have those, you construct your equation with those values, you plug in your T value, and you see what your D value is going to get. You got it, Robot. I will see everyone who, I think it's just Robot because the Robot's going to be watching. I will see you, Robot, and everyone else next time you guys come see our stream. We are nerdy.